Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for another video as always. I'm still early back on the scene here on YouTube, so please give the thumbs up, share the video, subscribe if you've not already, and help spread the word and get me out of YouTube jail. This video, I want to keep emphasising a few videos I've just done upon my comeback this past month. And this is one I wanted to do probably a couple of years ago when I should have, during the hype of 2020, and we know that what that year entailed. I just got a random message sent to me, and I'm sure many of you may have got it yourself. One of those things going viral, sharing, highlighting things, then looking at the state of the world in 2020. I kind of started noticing things, especially the more you have in your mind, like I do over the years, building things up. As I've put on the channel over the years, you start seeing, well, this stands out actually. Now what I'm about to read is just an excerpt, even it's at the introduction of a book that was written way back in the 1980s. Now the book itself is not something I've actually read, and to be honest with you, I don't think I have to read it. Maybe I should, but it's not one of those ones that I want to read. I don't feel the need to read it because the introduction part, between 2 pages particularly, really stands out. Now as I read this, you have your own thoughts of what stands out for you, and then I'm going to break down what stands out for me further into the video. So the people of the world can now determine what those changes are that those in the positions of implementing changes have in store for them. In summary, then, these changes are: the old world is coming to an end. It will be replaced with a new way of doing things. The new world will be called the New World Order. Have we heard that much in the last 20 years? Even more recently? This new structuring will redistribute property from the have nations and will give it to the have not nations. The New World Order will include changes in the family. Homosexual marriages will be legalised. Parents will not be allowed to raise their children. The state will? All women will be employed by the state and not allowed to be homemakers. Divorce will become exceedingly easy, and monogamous marriage will be slowly phased out. Changes in the workplace. The government will become the owner of all the factors of production. The private ownership of property will be outlawed. Religion. Religion will be outlawed, and believers will be either eliminated or imprisoned. There will be a new religion, the worship of man and his mind. All will believe in the new religion. The United States will play a major role in bringing it into the world. World wars have been fought to further its aims. Adolf Hitler, the Nazi socialist, supported the goal of the planners. The majority of the people will not readily accept the New World Order, but will be deceived into accepting it by 2 strategies. The first strategy: those in favour of the changes will have become seated in the very thrones of power, generally without the public realising that fact. The second strategy: the old world order will be destroyed piece by piece by a series of planned nibbles at the established format. The Communist Party is actively supporting the changes to the New World Order. The basic tenets of Christianity, which were the base for the Old World Order, will have to be eliminated. If the slower, methodical techniques of change do not function, violence will be introduced and controlled by the planners. The people of the world will give up their freedom to the controllers because there will be a planned famine or some other serious occurrence such as depression or war. The change to the New World Order is coming shortly, perhaps beginning after 1989. However, if that is not the year, it will be introduced one step at a time, so that the entire structure will be in place by the year 1999. I want to first focus on the fact that where it says with those that stand against these, the planners, and how they'll go about through violence. and what they would do. No one better than these last few decades has shown that more clearer than Donald Trump when he became president. Here is a clip going back to when he addressed the United Nations Assembly as president, and where he stuck up for his own sovereignty of the sovereignty of America, and where he wanted to highlight that every nation is unique, and independence, culture, history, and the fact that he respected that individual way of every nation, completely opposite to what it was with the globalists.
And distinguished delegates, 1 year ago I stood before you for the first time in this grand hall. I addressed the threats facing our world, and I presented a vision to achieve a brighter future for all of humanity. Each of us here today is the emissary of a distinct culture, a rich history, and a people bound together by ties of memory, tradition, and the values that make our homelands like nowhere else on earth. That is why America will always choose independence and cooperation over global governance, control, and domination. Germany will become totally dependent on Russian energy if it does not immediately change course. Here in the Western Hemisphere, we are committed to maintaining our independence from the encroachment of expansionist foreign powers. And let us come here to this place to stand for our people and their nations, forever strong, forever sovereign, forever just, and forever thankful for the grace and the goodness and the glory of God. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the nations of the world. Thank you very much.
And what happens within weeks after that announcement? We started the fear campaigns, didn't we? And within a matter of a month or two from then, if my memory serves me correctly, we started being locked down in our houses. How it took only a couple of weeks for those planners coming in with this new world order to shut down the world economy. And most people just went with it because of the one tool they had, fear. But look what happens when Trump stood up against it. I mean, you hear his own words. And if you watch the full speech, which I think is 35 minutes, he speaks about record levels of booming economy, of everyone finally playing their part because how much they need America for safety and all this stuff. But look at the Germans even laughing at him when he says they must change course immediately or they're going to be dependent on Russian oil. And he highlights Crimea. He highlights the fact that from the Obama administration, where Sleepy Joe was the vice president, look what they did in terms of Ukraine. And as soon as Biden is back in, look at it now.
You know, I have my own ideas. He's not going into Ukraine, okay? Just so you understand. He's not going to go into Ukraine. All right, you can mark it down, you can put it down, you can take it anywhere you want.
Well, he's already there, isn't he?
Okay, well, he's there in a certain way, but I'm not there. You have Obama there. And frankly, that whole part of the world is a mess under Obama, with all the strength that you're talking about and all of the power of NATO and all of this. In the meantime, he's going away. He takes Crimea. He's sort of, I mean...
But you said you might recognize that.
I'm going to take a look at it. But, you know, the people of Crimea, from what I've heard, would rather be with Russia than where they were. And you have to look at that also. Now, that was under, just so you understand, that was done under Obama's administration. And as far as Ukraine is concerned, it's a mess. And that's under the Obama's administration with his strong ties to NATO. So with all of these strong ties to NATO, Ukraine is a mess. Crimea has been taken. Don't blame Donald Trump for that.
You've said
and we'll do better, and yet we'll have a better relationship with Russia. And having a good relationship, maybe, and having a good relationship with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing.
So there's an old world, the way things have been for a long time, the era probably where through Christianity it solidified Europe into the modern way. for centuries. Yes, there's been ups and downs, wars and crusades and whatever else you want to call it. However, at the same time, a family unit was at the heart of it. And it all seems to be attributed back to the Benedictines, with the old saying, the family that prays together stays together. The fact that the family unit built up the community, then those families in the community built up the state, then the state shared that, spreading it throughout the world. However, the past century especially, and even closer from the 1960s, we're seeing the eradication of faith. Even just a couple of months ago, the UK has described Christianity for the first time fitting in a minority of the state. We're seeing faith going down, we're seeing socialist governments rising. Yeah, and I know many Catholics are socialists, I know all different things, but let's look at this a little bit more and break it down to see what times we're in. Already it should have been standing out for you. Changes, and I'm speaking about this objectively. There's no opinions, there's no hate, there's no like call to arms or anything like that. It's just seeing what this was saying in the 80s from probably a conspiracy theorist himself, taking in a lot of research of the time, to what we've actually seen now. And some videos are coming up where I've got clips to make it even clearer. So let's look at breaking it down. The New World Order will include changes in the family. A couple of decades now we've been seeing homosexual marriages being legalised. But the one that stands out for me as well there is parents will now be allowed to raise their children, the state will. How are they going to do that? Do we hand our children away once they're born? Do we wait until they're a certain age and then we send them away and they come into government clinics or something like out of the movie The Hitman or something? You know, little tattoos in the head? No, I see that through the education system. And right now, even in my home country of Scotland, a population, I don't think it's even past 6-7 million. Last I looked it was 5.5 million. But even just with the Socialist Party under Nicola Sturgeon, as an example, children even in primary education from the years of 4-5 years of age are now getting taught through reading materials. They're getting taught through ways of talks, invitations to certain speakers coming in. I know it's rife in America apparently with what do you call them, guys dressing up as women, transvestites and all this for story times and whatever. Now this is where they're getting taught it's okay for 2 men, 2 women, even polygamy with marriage, and it's okay for them as 4, if they're a boy, to identify as a girl, or a girl to identify as a boy, or whatever. And it's going that point where now it's like, well, that's clearly cutting in between the parent educating the children, growing up with any morality, ethical values, faith values. Socialist government's just taken right over, and this is what's in the education system. Who's voting for this? I will not be voting for that if I ever become a father. In fact, I'm more inclined to actually keep a mind open to homeschooling, because this is already in place right now. And it's going to continue going that way. But I wonder who might stand up soon to go against it. That's a hint to what's coming. Keep watching. All women will be employed by the state, not to be homemakers. Well, even the churches says it's great for women to come into places of work to do it now. But as though one, I think it was the old mayor or governor of Las Vegas years ago says, well, the good thing about that for the economy is the fact that you've got double income tax. There'll be less children being born because the women are out working, taking careers first, which seems to be not a problem with anyone, and I'm certainly not against it. I've said many times at work, as long as it's the best person for the job. But with all these pushing on women rights and any other type of right, except for those that are Christian, or as I would say, a white heterosexual Christian male, I ain't get a chance of much happening in the workplace these days. But it's taken away from that family unit. And I think there's a balance there. I'm all for women in the workplace. If they're the right person for the job, whether it's management, senior management, best person gets it. And it shouldn't be based on political agendas or keeping right with the tick boxes and making it come across that way for the business. But as we know already as well, divorce will become exceedingly easy and monogamous marriage will be phased out. So some states and countries are even opening up to the fact that you can marry animals. Is that next on a bigger agenda? We need to get over this gender stuff right now before it gets to the next phase. And then what's after that? You know? The workplace speaks for itself. Government taking over with factors of production, ownership of property will be outlawed. Gets me back to the World Economic Forum. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And I think as well, the more the World Economic Forum is speaking about the carbon footprint, how you're going to be monitored for absolutely everything, from shopping, what you're buying, to what you're spending money on, to your cars. The carbon footprint will be everything. Religion. Christianity is the one that seems to be mentioned holding it back due to the size of and the power of Christianity over the last 2,000 years, particularly with the Catholic Church, the governing state of Vatican City, the Holy See, and the diplomatic relations it has with so many nations. It plays a vital role in that moral compass with the United Nations, globalist agendas and all the rest of it. But yeah, right now we're seeing the fact that we're nearly 2 billion Muslims. We've got other millions, if not billions, of people where it comes to dividing them up amongst other faiths and different denominations of the faiths, including Christianity. What stands out for me is the United States will play a major role in bringing it to the world. Aren't they spearheading all of this stuff for the last 20 years, from my memory serves me correct? I remember when I'm 37, but even up until I was 34, it was clear to me. I left school around about 17 and a half, and I remember then just the things coming through in Britain about gay adoption, about gay civil unions, then gay marriage, and then the next thing. And then the second half of my life, 35 was, I always says the first half of my life it was never about that, and as soon as I left school, right up until 35, the second half of my life, it's all been about this. Think of all those children that were born 17 and a half, 20 years ago now. This is all they've known. This is all they're getting straight away in the education system. And with Christianity declining all the time, there's certainly no springtime coming soon. The winter is here first. But yeah, but it goes back to the point we can always point to people like Hitler or Stalin or this one and always use it the way the education systems had it as well, so we'll get a focus of where it's going wrong. But yet in the year 2020 to 2022, even Holocaust survivors were starting to speak out and saying what they were seeing back then, how it began day by day, month by month over the years of Hitler. They were seeing it in a global side in the Western world with America, Britain, Europe, all because of this fear that was getting constantly instilled on us every single day, and how that became the point of those with or without you know what. So when you're starting to see the same spirit of evil coming back in this worldly way, how is it we stand up against it? Now, how do all these changes come about? Well, the people have to get into positions of authority, of influence, of power, and that was the first strategy mentioned here. And the old world will be destroyed piece by piece. And I keep going back to the frog in the pot. If you ever put a frog in boiling water, it jumps out straight away. If they launched all of this on us out the blue overnight, within a week or a month, people would just be jumping away from it, resisting it automatically. But piece by piece, letting the gas stove start to lukewarm the water while the frog stays in it, then it starts to simmer, then it boils and the frog just stays in it and dies. And this is what I see happening with the piece by piece, a series of planned nibbles at the established format, because they're breaking over it. And surprise, surprise, where does this all stem in? The Communist Party. Communism. We've got socialism mentioned, we've got communism mentioned. I can see socialism in many countries already going this way. You can see the fact that socialism in Scotland itself, then you look at Venezuela, then you look at other ones. One man seems to be the only one highlighting all of this in the last few years. And what did they do? The establishment got rid of him. Those who were going against it, like this man, were basically the ones getting ridiculed and getting attacked in order to control the people's mindset. So the fact that it's going to be methodical, piece by piece, the people of the world will give up their freedom to the controllers, because there will be a planned famine or some other serious occurrence such as depression or war. Haven't we been seeing the rise of food prices? Even a couple of the prepper channels I look at, they're on Instagram taking photos of prices going up again, but yet we're told inflation's slightly coming down, so why are the prices continuing to rise? This is the nibble piece by piece, and I think it's going to get much worse. I think we're going to see this global shortage, as it's called, continue. The prices of what we do have is still going to go up, and it's giving us more control. It's giving us less control. We're losing our control, we're losing our freedoms. And when you look at what these guys are saying in the World Economic Forum, it's very clear that this is a very orchestrated way. And of course, when Trump left office and Biden comes in, we're back with that old agenda and establishment of all these political allies that have been ingrained in the cesspool of Washington and elsewhere for a long, long time, and straight back into war as soon as the fear-demic ended. And yet, now in the new campaign, Trump says it could be done and dealt with within 24 hours when they strike a deal. He's going against the establishment again, and I guarantee you one thing, when you see him coming back on the campaign trail and it gets closer to election, and especially if he wins, you're going to see repeats of all these violences and everything else shown back up again come that time. Guarantee you. Because he is going against the globalist agenda. He's going against that established New World Order. And people need to wake up and see the truth in that. And it just shows you by 2020 to 2022 how saturated people are in this New World Order agenda without even realising it. Because the frog in the pot, the nibbles, the piece by piece, year by year, they've actually gave it away more and more and more. And yeah, we scan our mobile phones, we'll soon scan our ID cards, as Tony Blair was talking about. We're going to do all these things while our identity as human beings are basically getting redone. That point where man and his mind will be the new worship, the new religion. I can't go over the fact that Donald Trump, even in the United Nations summit, at the end gives it all to God. And yet when the Pope goes to the United Nations, it's highlighted that not once in his entire speech does he mention the name Jesus. Donald Trump seems to be the one going at it alone for Christianity, for sovereign independent nations, and to get the family unit back to its traditional state. These areas of attack for the globalist agenda, and people are tarnishing him for it, and yet the church itself is so quiet. Being a seminarian for years and known many people, religious priests, seminarians, even now as I keep in those circles, don't rock the boat seems to be the thing. When the African priests come over to cover for some time in the chapels, don't rock the boat. And Trump's basically sinking their boat, but he's on his own ship, and these guys need to jump ship and start using the most powerful man in the world when he's president and backing that up, and that's where the power would be. But I believe the church is so timid with all the infiltration that's went on, highlighted in Dr. Taylor Marshall's book, which I'm listening to in audio right now, and much of I know what he's already covering, but certain other parts really stand out, and truly it is infiltration, there's no doubt about it. And we need to find these good bishops, these good shepherds, these brave souls to actually start standing up and start talking the way, while of course keeping it friendly, keeping it in love. That sounds a little cliche as well, but no one is ever to be under attack for whatever way they see as the identity of themselves. But this word identity seems to be the thing where it's, what is identity? And it goes back to the book I've been currently reading. You know, the closer you come to God, the more He reveals your identity. Now, for me, that's not the case of fitting it in my terms of what I think I am or what I think of this. It's being a human being. That's the identity crisis. What does it mean to be human? It means that I am created in the image and likeness of God. I'm serving Him in this life and to be happy with Him in the next. And the state of heaven can be felt and experienced now. We call those people saints. We're all welcome to do it. But this identity of gender, of sexuality, of whatever else it might be, they're second, third, fourth best. And it's losing the idea in a world that's becoming less and less believers, less and less God worshipping, and becoming just more the point of man and his created mind and his genius and intellect, and look what we've created, look what we can do. You can see all this emerging closer and closer, and again that parallel between the church and the world, you can just see it, and so far it only seems to be this one man standing up for it. What do you take from that? What do you think when you read this? So based on this introduction alone, that's what I'm getting out of it. What are you getting out of it? And let's keep it objective. Let's not show any hate. Let's not show any biased opinion. Let's just be honest and open to that way of seeing it. And I hope it's highlighted it for you if you haven't seen it that way before. But this is why it comes back to the point I always like to finish on. This is not sensationalism. This is not a way of keep following these things and making predictions. You will not hear me doing that. However, this is the point of why Our Lady's repeatedly told us on our major Marian apparitions, pray, 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 pray unceasingly. Pray that what I began in Fatima will be realised. Pray for the church, pray for humanity, pray for the way it's going. And she's warned us exactly that humanity is on the road to perdition, that humanity is going into the future without God. And this is why you can see what's happening. This is not a religious book that I'm aware of. This is just a conspiracy of bringing a lot of things together back in the 80s, and I haven't felt the need to get beyond this page. This is like page 19 and 18 and 19 or something from the introduction part, and it highlights everything. And it will back up and fit in with a lot of the videos where I've covered things already, whether it's coming from the point of Marian prophecies, whether it's coming from more of the world government themes or World Economic Forum themes. It's all there. So let's do what we're asked to do. Not just to promote this and go against it in human terms. We need to take on the armour of God. Read Ephesians 6. We need to pray, pray, pray. We need to fast. We need to live the messages that Our Lady's asked us to. And when we're living the messages, we're actually living the gospel. And I'm going to leave it there for you, friends. So as always, like I say, please subscribe if you're not already. Please like the video. Please share the video to get this out there so people can come back and go on the journey with us, finding other ones linking to it. That way, we're spreading the word while there's still time. Because this is going to be in our lifetime. I'm 37. I'm going to see this more and more if I live to that statistical age. So please, get it out there, do your part, and let's keep building the community. Until next time, God bless.
Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination. Through weakness and incompetence, Joe Biden has brought us to the brink of World War III. We're at the brink of World War III, just in case anybody doesn't know it. As president, I will bring back peace through strength. Peace through strength would have never happened. If I was president, there would not have been a war with Russia in Ukraine. Zero chance, and Lindsay would be happy with that. That's better than any alternative. Wouldn't have happened. And I will say this, even now, despite tremendous loss of lives and destruction of much of that country, I would have a peace deal negotiated within 24 hours. You could make a peace deal, you could make a deal for both right now, 24 hours. That deal could be done. That deal is waiting to be done, but there's nobody to do it.